Hello, everybody, and welcome to Escape the Galaxy, Episode 2. This is the Escapist's brand new Star Wars-centric show. My name is Marty Sleva. I am one of your hosts, and if I were a member of the Bad Batch, my codename would be Weezer, and not because of my love of the band, but because of my debilitating asthma.
Hi, I'm Rachel Kaiser, and if I were a member of the Bad Batch, my name would be Spectre, because I always have a plan, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. That was my terrible Kiwi accent.
You even
Don't
have the
come
accent.
for me.
That's so good.
Don't come for me.
Are you
Don't
from
come for
New
me.
Zealand? Oh my
This is
god.
incredible.
Oh, there are going to be 100 Kiwis that are going to come after me for that.
Special guest Taika Waititi in the house. Incredible.
Alright, and I'm Omar Ahmed, and if I were in the Bad Batch, my codename would be Crosshair, because I took the Bad Batch quiz on StarWars.com, and it told me that I'm Crosshair.
Oh no!
Oh.
We shouldn't trust you at all.
Hey, spoiler!
Oh, spoiler!
Oh, no,
yeah,
sorry.
Don't.
As you could probably guess, this is Escape the Galaxy, the Escapist's new Star Wars show. This is episode 2. A couple days ago, we released an episode that was sort of about what the show is going to be, what the current state of Star Wars is, what our temperature is on that current state, and then some predictions and hopes for the Bad Batch series. And we're recording this a couple hours after the first episode of the Bad Batch premiered on Disney Plus, titled Aftermath. It was the extra long 70-minute episode. Pilot, premiere, but it also just kind of feels like Clone Wars Season 8, which is cool. So, we're going to dig through the entire episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, a lot of the cool references and Easter eggs and characters from Star Wars lore, and then some more predictions about where we think it's going to go. So first off, I guess, Rachel and Omar, Rachel first, what, I guess, is your short, just like tweet-length review of the episode? What did you think?
Really good movie. But there are some things in there I don't exactly know how to explain.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my tweet-length review would be, it's better than I expected. Full stop.
And if you listened last week, he did not expect very much. So That was a very low bar to clear. I thought in terms of sort of Clone War mini-movies, which we've gotten a lot of, both in terms of the actual like theatrical Clone Wars film, as well as, a couple of the arcs sort of feel like mini-movies. This, I thought, was a pretty good Star Wars movie. This was better than some of the theatrical Star Wars movies. And I think the thing that impressed me the most about the episode was that it moved the characters and story and sort of overall pieces along much further and much faster than I thought they would after the first episode. So
Yeah.
I was kind of impressed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, there were a lot more twists that I thought would happen later in the season that happened right away.
I genuinely have
pleasant.
no idea. Yeah, I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen the rest of the season because all the things I thought they were going to build toward happened in the first episode.
Yeah, so that's, I think that's pretty economic storytelling, which I was excited by. So, we'll sort of just, go through the episode, kind of chronologically hit the big points, and if you have any observations or anything, please feel free to make them. But, the episode, like I said, it was called Aftermath. It opened with the logo of the Clone Wars that sort of burnt away to reveal the logo of the Bad Batch, which I think did a good job of, like, letting people know, like, hey, this is, like, a Clone Wars adjacent thing, but it's also different. Like, the animation very much looks like the Clone Wars. You had the old-timey radio announcer come in to give the little preamble and everything, and obviously early on we see some familiar characters, from both Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, that cameo.
Yeah. Right away with the Caleb Doom. Immediately.
Yeah, so Caleb Doom.
Can I just say?
Oh no!
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Caleb Doom. If the name of that young Padawan with the braid and everything who escapes. If that name doesn't sound familiar, maybe the name Kanan Jarrus does, because that's one of the main characters of Rebels. And he after he escaped Order 66, he sort of had to go on the run and change his name to flee the Empire. And so it was really cool seeing again, like Order 66 is such a pivotal moment in Star Wars for all of these characters and all these different tangential stories, and so it was cool to see it again from a different point of view.
Yeah, and can I just say that it's very odd hearing Kanan's voice actor trying to do Caleb as a little boy, as probably
I hated
13 years old.
I hated that so much.
Oh my god!
It's just like
seeing late
I'm
90s
Caleb.
heartthrob Freddie Prinze Jr. trying to voice a 12-year-old. Yeah.
It was so cringy.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he didn't do a good job. Not that he didn't do a good job, but they should have gotten somebody who can actually do the voice of a 12-year-old child.
Yeah.
To do
Just call him Caleb. We get that it's him.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to have it be the same dude from Rebel.
I think Freddie Prinze has become so sort of just connected and synonymous with that character that
I didn't even know it was Freddie Prinze Jr.
It was the Prinze himself.
Oh my god.
And
my god. Well, now you have to. Okay. Take it all back.
So I thought that was I do agree it was kind of silly, but I liked it. I really liked that opening scene. I thought it did a good job of reintroducing the Bad Batch. Like, even if you hadn't seen their arc in season 7 of the Clone Wars, you very quickly realize who the 5 of them are and kind of what their G.I. Joe, Team Fortress, Overwatch abilities are.
Yeah.
In the single attack with the sort of like the avalanche, and then totally taking out all the separatist droids. And so I thought that was a really cool moment that was just immediately you then get to the horrors of Order 66.
Yeah, this was a much better introduction to the Bad Batch than the Bad Batch arc in the Clone Wars, in my opinion. It actually gave them motive. It gave them more individuality. And in that arc, they just, if you think about it, they aren't even really the point of that arc. It's really about Rex. So,
no, that is very true. And you got especially throughout the episode, you got a lot more kind of the friction between the 5 of them, and you got the sort of familial camaraderie, but also you have Crosshair who is the Omar of their group and is really like rubbing against them the wrong way until finally, obviously, what happens at the end of the episode.
Glimpse behind the scenes at Escape the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm gonna show up next week with a big tattoo over my ass.
Oh no!
No.
I kind of liked the moment that it seemed like Hunter would have been able to talk Caleb down. Like, it seemed like Caleb was getting ready to unignite his lightsaber or sheath his lightsaber. I don't know what the term is. And when Hunter was like, "Listen, I don't know what's going on either. We didn't kill those guys. Like, we don't know what's happening because without the inhibitor chips, because of their malfunction and their mutations, they're not affected by Order 66. So they're probably one of only a handful of clones in the galaxy who aren't impacted by it."
I did find that a bit weird. That I mean, I expected them to not be affected by Order 66 because otherwise you wouldn't have a show. Yeah. But I just found it a bit weird plot-wise, or I guess logistics-wise, why the Kaminoans would be like okay with having genetically modified clones if a side effect of that is like one of the largest reasons why there's a clone army,
that is a good point of like the reason there's a clone army is being able to like control it with like at the touch of a button pretty much. So it I think it's going to be interesting to see. We'll talk about it more, but it does seem like there's some more kind of subterfuge from some of the Kaminoans, whatever we want. Kaminoans. Okay. Yeah, it seems like they clearly have kind of their own agenda going on, and I don't know if that's going to ultimately boil to a point where there's like a clone versus the Empire Stormtrooper war or something, because clearly by the time we get to like A New Hope, there's no clones, or the clones that still exist are way off in hiding, which we see some of in Rebels and everything. But it's just interesting what's going to happen to this this factory that's made hundreds of thousands of troopers.
So I don't know if we're gonna cover things chronologically, right? So I don't want to like jump too far ahead.
I think we could jump around a little bit. Well, yeah. Feel free. Okay. If you have any thoughts, we can jump there.
I mean, I was a little confused because they didn't really say. They didn't exactly to me explain why Echo wouldn't have the inhibitor chip. I mean, they kind of did, but they also kind of didn't.
There was kind of just a lore dump by Tech in that one scene in Kamino.
Where, when he just like
or an exposition dump rather.
Echo's not because he's an android now, and I'm like, but they didn't remove his brain.
Yeah, but I think they just fried his circuits enough to where whatever that inhibitor chip was sort of just got ground up into mush. And I did like the line Echo said, "You're more machine now than man," which kind of echoes the line Obi-Wan said in Jedi about Vader.
I had that written as a prediction.
Yeah.
Somebody would say that about it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can take a drink within 20 minutes of this episode. Yeah.
Just to take
and Echo's just like, oh, God, fine.
Yeah.
Even he seemed to cringe at that line.
Just take a slight detour. I think that this show needs to establish kind of a delineation between why Echo is in the group versus it just like all of the responsibilities just being tech. Because I don't really understand what they do differently. Because like if they're Team Fortress characters, what class is Echo? You know?
Right.
Sure. I mean, I think you kind of got. You don't know what class he is, but his motive was at the end of the Bad Batch arc in season 7. They rescued him and he came back, and then he realized like, oh, I don't belong with the clones anymore. Like I don't belong with this army anymore. Like I've been so messed up that I have no place in this universe. And so it makes sense for him to find a surrogate family in a group of clones who have no place in this universe.
I get that from like a story standpoint, but from all these guys are caricatures with like enhanced skill, and I just don't really see what makes Echo stand apart.
I think ultimately it's just going to be like empathy, which isn't as cool as being like super strong. But...
I mean, what would be much needed in the Bad Batch.
Yeah, it would, but what use is that in a combat scenario? Because I mean, the Bad Batch are yes, they are defective clones. I mean, although if they're that awesome, are they really defective? Semantics, but
I think like, mutation is the word they use. Like, I don't know. It's almost like mutants. Like people are making fun of mutants in the X-Men. And I'm like, oh, this dude's got claws and laser eyes. Like, what are you doing? This guy's awesome.
Well, I mean, they're not like the other clones. I get that that's how Echo fits in, but they are also an elite spec ops squad. Yeah. So what does Echo bring to the table that none of the other four do?
Well, the one thing I
think
thought
is what
of,
Omar means.
The one thing I thought of is since he has that little droid hand, he's the one guy who can like open locked doors in Star Wars, because otherwise you need a droid, and how else are you gonna open your door without a droid?
Yeah, and like they don't have like an R2 or a BB-8 or a chopper or anything. You think
about how does anybody in Star Wars open locked doors if they don't have a droid with them? Really?
I mean, there's got to be like a pocket droid, right? Like just like the equivalent of like a little like a stick you carry around,
like a little mini slicer or something.
Yeah, I think there's got to be something like that, right?
Okay, something you can put in like a purse. Just stuff it in there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, there you go. I'll put that on the Wikipedia.
Yeah, there you go. You could just add it to there. No one will get mad. Yeah, and I liked then, after they get back to Camino and they're like, well, that was really weird. And they start seeing the other clones and they're like, well, clearly something has changed. And then you get to see that moment from Revenge of the Sith where, Palpatine becomes the Emperor and gives that speech about this is the first galactic empire and everything. And they use Ian McDermott's dialogue and everything from the movie. So I thought, again, it was cool to see these moments. Like Star Wars does this thing all the time, like from a certain point of view, and you get to see things from a different point of view. So it was cool to see how they reacted to that, and we're like, oh God, like this isn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of when you think about it, if you weren't privy to what was happening in Revenge of the Sith, then it seems like it came completely out of nowhere. All of a sudden, the Chancellor is now the Emperor. He looks completely different, and he's saying we have to kill all the Jedi. I mean, I get that the clones are brainwashed and they're literally having to go along with this because they have no other option. But imagine how weird and jarring that's got to be if you're one of the Bad Batch, or if you're one of the Republic civilians, and all of a sudden
they kind of get into
changing.
that. They kind of get into that with Saw Gerrera's scene.
With his that's the. It's not the rebellion. What does he call his? It's like
insurgency.
His insurgency, and it's that same group that you end up seeing. That sort of like guerrilla group that you see in Rogue One and Rebels and everything.
Mm-hmm. I did appreciate that the voice actor was doing like a halfway Forrest Whitaker impression, because in Rebels he's full Forrest Whitaker. And you have to morph him from here to there.
I do like
those Animorph books. Just start at him and then end at Forrest Whitaker.
It's the baby steps that eventually lead you to be like lies, deception, Mowgli. Like you can't go you can't go full Forest yet. So I did appreciate that. And so Saw Gerrera is one of the familiar faces that we see throughout the episode, along with Tarkin, who's I think Admiral Tarkin, not yet Grand Moff
Yeah.
Tarkin.
Right.
He really aged like shit in the past 2 years or something.
It has not treated him well, has it?
Because he was in the arc, like on the Citadel. I mean, they mentioned that in the episode, and
Yeah, and that's how
did
he was
not
like there
age
with
well.
the whole Echo thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got really gray. Wrinkled.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
interesting. I liked his conversations where he was immediately like, hey, we're going to disband the clones because if we just have like a human army, this is much cheaper for us. So it was interesting because I was always like, well, why would they do humans if they have clones? And if his excuse is like, well, this is just much cheaper, I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, I guess.
That's what I always figured, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was funding the clone army before then? I actually never thought about that.
Well, it was Master Sifo Dyas was the one who gave the order, and I think Dooku was funding it. And he was a count, so I think he was rich.
Pretty sure that was what they established in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
when
I don't
they
know.
did that
Do we?
arc about
Do you
Sifo
think this
Dyas.
is like a should we get like Dooku's tax records? Is that what you're worried about?
Yeah, I admit, I want to see where the money is coming from here.
Okay, yeah, I hope the state of New York goes after Dooku, so we can finally see where all that money comes from.
I mean, the whole the whole first prequel trilogy started because of a taxation issue. So let's not pretend finances are alien to the alien, no pun intended, to the world of Star Wars.
Absolutely, no, I am all for that. I want to see where the credits come from.
I mean, honestly, my favorite episodes of like the Clone Wars series were the ones that got weirdly political, like the one just about nationalizing the banks.
Yes, I remember that.
So, I want to see more. I mean, I don't think they're going to go that nitty gritty in the Bad Batch. It's going to be a lot more straightforward. But you know, I love that shit.
Yeah,
I love just the weird deep diving into nerd stuff in Star Wars.
Yeah,
I do. I do wonder. I agree with what they're saying about. I actually kind of agree with Tarkin that a conscripted, like regular army of conscripted people would cost less to outfit, and you don't have to grow them like you do the clones.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they going to do with the clones that are already alive? Like, presumably he means we're not going to keep funding the Kaminoans' efforts to keep making more clones. But the clones that are there, they already exist. They're well trained. They're outfitted. They come with their own command structure. So surely that would hold some weight as well towards keeping them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something ultimately maybe the show will deal with, like what they want to do with these clones and what like the Kaminoans' plan is with the clones and everything, and that sort of feeds into we're introduced this new character named Omega, who again is we find out is the fifth mutated clone or the fifth clone with a mutation, and so seemingly a young clone of Jango Fett. Obviously, she is a girl. But throughout her scenes, we sort of realize that she has some sort of either clairvoyance or telepathic ability, or she's force sensitive. Yeah, which I don't know if like, are they going to do another show that's about a group of like, you know, former soldiers on the run who have to take care of a young force sensitive child? Because we have another show like that.
She is absolutely the Baby Yoda of this show.
Yeah. But
not going to sell as much merch, but
yeah, she's not going to sell as much merch. She also talks more, which is nice. I thought her character was really interesting. Like and I think she's going to add like a neat wrinkle to the sort of haggard, war torn kind of soldier mentality that the four of them have. Yeah, I
mean, she's what made me actually start to like Hunter as a character, because I mean, originally he's just I'm Snake Plissken, I'm whatever.
I'm John
But
Rambo.
Now they have an interesting arc, and like an arc that's established in this first episode, which could have been over several episodes, like a lot of other things in this, but of him kind of failing to protect Caleb, and then he sees in Omega, someone that he can actually take care of and transfer all that to.
Yeah, and I liked that he immediately felt like a sense of like, oh, like we need to go back. Like we're clearly going to go on the run, but we need to go back to Kamino first and like grab this girl because if they're coming after us, they're going to come after her as well.
Yeah, it was like a strange paternal thing that they're doing with him, and we'll just see where that goes.
There is a theme here with the Bad Batch interacting with kids, because when they get Order 66, that is sort of the ordinarily you would think even a clone who doesn't have the inhibitor chip would still hear that order. They would question it, but I think even then there would still be some question of, well, surely there's got to be a reason we were given these orders. What happened? But because they were ordered to kill Caleb, they slash Kanan, immediately Hunter is like, no, this is wrong. We're not doing this. It's like it's making sure we're still in the moral white here.
Yeah, which is interesting because we don't know, like, I mean, we know of a few other clones who feel the same way, like ones we were introduced to in Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, but we don't know how many there are aside from that. And there's sort of, I have this like tragic feeling watching this show because unless they do a lot of creative retconning, like this isn't going to end well for the Bad Batch. Like we've seen a lot of stories that take place, in between Revenge of the Sith and the Battle of Yavin, and at no point are there, these super powered, clones with a heart of gold on the side of the rebellion. So, I'm worried that this is like sort of a Dirty Dozen Suicide Squad thing. Like ultimately, this isn't going to end well for everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's not.
Yeah. Wow.
And
well, we just came to that conclusion. That's a bummer.
I mean, that's sort of the tone. I mean, we're not. Even when you were watching Clone Wars, even though you're watching, okay, this is basically a kid's show. It's got great animation, great scripting, and all that, but it is basically a kid's show. But even still, you got this underlying sense of like, oh, this is going to end so badly because we know it ends badly.
Yeah,
and it's capable of like delivering those like that really great feeling of foreboding, which is pretty impressive considering it's 7 seasons long. And you got that impression in this episode too. It's like, okay, this is not a hospitable world, a galaxy for these clones anymore. Wherever they go, they are constantly going to be on the run.
Yeah, and you got that feeling almost immediately. Obviously, they had like the 80s R-rated comedy food fight in the cafeteria with the guy who called them the Sad Batch, which like full disclosure, sick burn.
I love that.
Like that's great.
I love that.
Like
so
Sad
good.
Batch is like I do not condone bullying whatsoever, but Sad Batch is a very good bully. Like that's a good bullying.
Yeah.
Well, I admit that scene got me to like Omega because when she first turned up, it was sort of like, okay, random new character. She literally turns up in a hallway and just is like, "Hi, Bad Batch, I'm here. I know all your names." And usually, when a kid character is introduced in a show like this, it was the case with Ezra as well. They're the audience surrogate character, and they have to kind of have things explained to them. But that's not the role Omega plays in this.
Yeah.
And so she's literally just there, and just sudden new member of the Bad Batch you didn't hear about before, and so that first introduction, I was like, well, that was weird. Kind of like the rest of the Bad Batch. In fact, I was like, well, that was weird. What was that all about? And then she sort of gets she starts the food fight in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. And I was with Wrecker. I was like, I like this kid.
Yeah. And it's funny. Like, if anything, Omega is the opposite of the audience surrogate because it feels like whatever ability she has, like even if it's not force sensitivity, if she has some sort of clairvoyance, like she knows more than the audience does. Like when they're in that cell and she goes up to Crosshair and is like, you don't have to do this. Like you don't have to do this, but if you do, I understand it isn't your fault. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then you realize that, 20 minutes later he turns on them. So it's like it's interesting to see like how far ahead can she see? Like, does she know where this is going to end? Like, does she know that this ends in tragedy and she knows that she has to play her role in it in sort of like a real fate destiny kind of thing?
I actually have a question for you guys, unless you wanted to talk about something else first. But how do you guys feel about the shows like for somebody who would go into it without seeing the Clone Wars? Like, do you think it's accessible at all? Because I feel like the show has an assumption that you care about the setting and clones and all that stuff from watching the Clone Wars.
Yes.
I would say it provides enough of an introduction to the clones that you know about them. Care about them, I'm not so sure about.
Yeah.
Because, everything happens just to be clear, in the first 7 minutes of the episode, things happen really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We're introduced to, we're taken to a planet where we meet Caleb and his master, and then we are introduced to the Bad Batch who are backing them up, and we see a whole combat scenario where they take out a huge platoon of droids, and then immediately afterward, Order 66 happens. Hunter goes off to try to save Caleb. Crosshair's being weird about the whole situation, and it's like it's the crosshair thing is what I mean because. Whereas a good example of what I mean because we were just introduced to this character. So if you haven't seen the Clone Wars and haven't seen, Crosshair in any other setting before now, you might be like, okay, here's this character. Okay, he's starting to go evil. I have I feel nothing from this.
Yeah.
I mean,
think,
personally, I kind of felt nothing from it anyway.
Yeah.
But that's because I didn't care about the Bad Batch before.
Oh, you're such a classic Crosshair.
So emotionally detached.
I do agree with that, and I do think more so than The Mandalorian, I think your mileage may vary based on how much you bring to the table, like how much you care about these things beforehand. That being said, while it does feel like a lot of stuff happened in this episode, you have to keep in mind that this is ostensibly 3 episodes duct taped together. So this is ostensibly the first 3 episodes, and so this is a single arc. This isn't like they're not cramming everything into 20 minutes. They're cramming everything into 70 minutes. So while I do agree that a lot happens in those 70 minutes, I think the middle of the episode takes its time to breathe a little bit with Saw Gerrera and with the scene where they Tarkin has them go into the training room that we've seen before, and then they switch from the stun bolts to live ammunition, which was cool. And I thought you see the sort of those prototype dark troopers that were introduced in Rebels, which I thought was neat. And so I feel like the middle of the episode does take time to breathe and catch up a little bit with the characters, whereas the beginning kind of does throw you in media res.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like we mentioned, there's the you have the training scene, you have them going to meet up with Saw Gerrera and the partisans.
Well, they didn't know they were meeting up with Saw Gerrera.
No, they didn't. Yeah, they thought they're just going to go kill some droids. Yeah,
some separatist cell.
But yeah, you even get at that point, Crosshair seems like he would have been totally fine with killing old women and children and stuff. There,
right?
Doesn't seem like he would have any problem.
Again, children providing the catalyst for the Bad Batch to rebel.
Yeah.
Well, most of them anyway.
Yeah, well, 4/5 of the Bad Batch, and now 5/5 if Omega just slots in there.
Well,
you have a full starting lineup.
6. I think that's
5/6. No, it's like a starting lineup. He's not in the Bad Batch anymore. Friendship over with Crosshair. Omega is new best friend.
Oh no!
I mean, in one of the trailers, not to speculate too far in advance, but in one of the trailers, Omega does have a bow. So it's possible she could not only take Crosshair's place, but she could also basically usurp his role in the party.
Which we do see in the final confrontation of the episode, when they break out of their little prison and they're trying to skedaddle and get out of there, and you see Crosshair in a new kind of black armor, and he's flanked by other troopers, and I thought that scene was really well shot, the tension of sort of an old spaghetti western, and the angles they were using and everything, and the lighting and sound effects and the rain and thunder crashing down. I thought that was a really cool build up to when the action finally popped off in that scene.
Yeah. Just the look of the show is so nice. I'm so happy that we're back to the big anamorphic widescreen of Clone Wars instead of Rebels.
Yes, I completely agree. It's crazy because I love everything about Rebels, just except that.
Except the look of it.
Yeah, which is a tough thing.
That everybody looks like a potato.
Yeah, and
I'm not a huge Rebels fan, but I will agree that I do like the cinematography in this show is pretty good. Especially, there's one shot in that confrontation scene where they're on diagonal opposites of the screen.
It's a high angle above them looking down.
Yeah, and you got Hunter down towards the bottom of the hangar, and then Crosshair up in the doorway, and there's just a beam of light connecting the two, and they're staring at each other, and I was like, oh, that's actually really pretty.
During the Oscars the other week, they debuted the trailer for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, and there's a similar shot. So I like to think Spielberg stole the shot from this episode, even though that movie was supposed to come out last winter. So who knows? You be the judge. Conspiracy Corner. This is our weekly conspiracy corner. Steven Spielberg stole things from the Bad Batch.
So is Glenn Close gonna twerk in Bad Batch too?
Oh no, the butt! Are we gonna get the butt in Bad Batch?
God, God, we're going there.
It was the true Bad Batch all along.
Oh no, the bad bitch.
But getting to hey, he's the Crosshair. He's got to do that. But getting back to kind of Omega's powers. when they're trying to escape, she picks up a blaster and immediately in one shot has a perfect shot and shoots the gun out of Crosshair's hand, like right before he fires. And she's like, that's the first time I've ever fired a gun. So either she's lying or, again, force sensitive.
That's what I'm going with there, which I'm not sure how the Chameleons would have achieved that with, there's so much about Omega that I question, because obviously, again, with the whole, like, semantics of, using the word defect or mutated clone, but I am assuming at some point the Kaminoans, we keep going back and forth on the pronunciation, I'm assuming at some point they had some control over over how those mutations developed and what they were. So they went from making a squad full of, hard-ass military specialists and to making a small female version who ages presumably at a slower rate than the Bad Batch do.
Yeah, like at a Boba Fett rate.
Fett.
Yeah, regular rate. Yeah.
I would assume maybe has had the same combat training that some of the other clones have had, but she doesn't say that she has.
So one of the things I think, if she's not force sensitive, I think she might be like a suicide soda of all of their different abilities. Like, when you just put a little bit of each soda in, like left to right. So she might just have a little bit of all of their traits and abilities in her. And so...
Except for Echo,
what does she have from Wrecker?
She's just going to punch through a wall at some point. Well, she did found his little stuffed animal thing. So maybe an affinity for stuffed animals, which I think children just have in general. So...
And Wrecker is a child, isn't he?
and Wrecker is
there
a child.
There you go, another child. So much theming.
That's what she took from him. She's a kid.
She's just, instead of being in a large man's body, she's just in a regular sized child's body.
Well, when she escapes the cell and she basically crashes onto 3 clones, and just flattens them, and I have to admit I did feel like, okay, she may have been small, but that was a Wrecker move right there.
Yeah, there was some funny physical comedy, and when they kept having Wrecker punch the wall, and then they'd be like, oh, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh, this is such a dumb Three Stooges or Huey, Louie, and Dewey DuckTales move, but I appreciated it.
It reminded me of that moment in Last Crusade when Indy's busting through the floor of the library.
Yes.
I don't think it was intentional on Indy's part, but he times it with the librarian stamping books. And every time it happens, the librarian looks down at his stamp. Did I do that?
Great. That's a great scene.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so far I'm not really too sold on Wrecker as the comic relief. There's been a lot of groaning from me, but
it is kind of
complaint.
It's kind of one note. So again,
just
hopefully,
I like to break things. I'm Wrecker.
Yeah,
and that's probably going to be him the whole show.
I'm hoping that the way the show unfolds is that we get, obviously it seems like they're going to be together every episode, but maybe we get an episode that focuses more on Tech, and we get more about what Tech's like and more about what Wrecker's like. So not Lost style flashbacks or anything, but something that fleshes them out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something for them specifically. I mean, we have 16 episodes in the show.
So that's
supposedly.
Supposedly the CNET had an interview with the director of this episode, and they said, the plan is for 16, but who knows? Maybe we'll do more if people like it. So that's longer, I think, than we thought.
Wait. Extending the season if people like it?
Oh, no, I think they said another season if people like it. Hopefully, we want to keep telling stories.
I mean, are they... So we know for sure now that they're going to overlap with Loki?
I think it's going to go... If it's 16 episodes, it's going to go to August, so it'll lap Loki.
Right.
Not just overlap.
I mean...
fully lap.
Be prepared to hear our voices a lot more.
Yeah. Take that, Marvelous Escape.
We should just do a big on the premiere episode of Loki or something. We should all just get together and talk about our 2 shows at the same time.
I was about to say for April
Fools,
talk
about the Bad Batch over them.
Yes, exactly.
So they can't talk about Loki.
Yeah, you've never listened to dueling podcasts, one in each year. It's incredible. I did the last Omega thing. The episode I really liked was when they finally get into the ship, and she has this sense of wonder on her face because she's never left the ground before, and never even felt Earth before, and so the sense of wonder in her eyes, especially when you go to hyperspace and you could see the light reflecting in her pupils, I thought was that was really cool, a really neat sense of not only a childhood wonder, but just making you remember this is pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, it definitely, for me, evoked the scene in Force Awakens with Rey in the cockpit, looking the green. I've never seen this much green. And also in The Last Jedi with the kid at the very end picking up the broom.
Oh
pretending
yeah,
to be a
Broom
Jedi.
Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss Broom
So they're
Boy.
leaning into. I mean, this is a show for kids
Yeah.
at the end of the
It
day.
is.
So
yeah.
yeah, it helps me forgive Wrecker being a bit of a blah. But
I will say this. I don't think this is what they're gonna do with the show, but I think it would be interesting because we've already seen Crosshair. You know, we've seen what it looks like when Crosshair has to go up against the rest of the gang. I
Yeah.
actually would be kind of. I know this is not what they're gonna do, and if they do it, I will be so surprised. But I would kind of like to see what it would look like with each of the different characters. Like maybe not Hunter, because I don't think Hunter against the others would be any different than Hunter by himself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I actually kind of want to see evil Wrecker or evil Tech.
Yeah, yeah.
I could see how how you would neutralize it, because I actually was kind of curious about that in the show, because they noticed that Tarkin notices that Crosshair was sort of obeying the orders, like his inhibitor chip sort of works,
Mhm.
and which that's weird to me. It's like either you're brainwashed or you're not. How can you be sort of
Yeah.
brainwashed? But they take him into a chamber, and he said, "Okay, can you enhance it?" And again, I'm just like, enhance what? It's not radio waves going through his brain. I don't
mean,
understand. I will say that's
It
one of the things I
literally might
don't.
be though, right? Like I don't know, they're clones. Like I don't know how they work.
I thought it was just
Yeah.
supposed to be a thing in your head that it's like an inherent. It's like the Manchurian Candidate. When you hear that,
Yeah.
it's just supposed to override your capacity for anything else. But I'm not sure how you could conceivably amplify that. But taking that at its face, then why can't they do that for the rest of the Bad Batch? Because presumably they all still have the chips, and presumably the order still went through. They just ignored it or didn't feel it. So why can't they just stick each of them in that microwave machine and basically like, okay, heat it up in there?
I think that was probably their plan, right?
Mhm.
But then
Was
they
it?
escaped. So I don't know. Like, well, either kill them or
yeah, I
like
thought
if
they were
they
just going to
captured
kill them.
if they captured
Okay.
them though, if any were alive, I'm sure they'd put them in the same thing and just set it to defrost or whatever and see if they come out as winter soldiers. But
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I will accept that as an explanation, but I mean, knowing that now, I would think it would actually be kind of interesting to see if that could be the case for the other members of the Bad Batch, except for
Mhm.
Echo, obviously.
yeah, and then sort of the final point of the episode, which I think I'm curious. I think they just might touch on this more as we go on in further episodes. Is that on the ship they say they don't have a lot of friends, but they're going to go to Sector J19 because they have a
Yeah.
friend there. And then I know when I first watched it, I was like, I don't know what the hell J19 is.
Did you
and
look
apparently
it up?
that's I did look it up. That's the Salukami, the Salukami system,
Yeah.
which was from
What is that?
it's a season 2 episode of the Clone Wars, and it was the one about the deserter. And so there was the one
I
clone
love that
Oh.
guy.
Cut.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a clone named Cut, and he had just sort of like he talked about how after the Battle of Geonosis, his ship went down, and he saw every single one of his other clones get killed, and he just had a
Yeah.
moment where he's like, "I'm done with this war," and
Yeah, and
went
he
off, and he
deserted,
started
and
started a
yeah.
little family with like a Twi'lek woman, and in that episode, like Rex meets him, and at first Rex is like, "You're a deserter," and then they go through a little thing together, and at the end he's like, "You know what? You're still a deserter, but I hit my head and I don't remember even being here," and so obviously he lets him continue to live there. So
Yeah.
my guess is maybe this is also where Rex went when
Maybe
'cause
to
the
warn
only-
him.
yeah, because after in the events of Clone Wars season 7, Ahsoka helps Rex and gets his inhibitor chip removed and everything, and you assume they part ways because when we next see Rex is in Rebels when they meet him with Wolf and
Gregor.
Gregor. Yeah.
Yep.
And then but obviously that's years down the road. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know how this would all come about and sort of, but we just know that at the very least,
Okay.
there's those 3 clones who were able to, not obey Order 66, and presumably there's more.
That's cool.
Well,
Well,
we've
that's
seen there
exciting.
were more.
Yeah, we've seen that there are more. Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be it'll be interesting to see. And the last nod to another character was the little medical droid was AZ,
Oh, yeah.
which was the same medical droid that was in Fives'
The arc
episode.
with Fives, where
Yeah,
he discovers
yeah.
Was it?
Order 66.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, oh, it's cool. That's that. It's that droid. And then I think they killed him. I was like, oh, well.
I missed that completely.
R.I.P. AZ. So we hardly knew ye. Although I don't know if you
All
just
this
shoot
is
like
so
a droid.
neat because like I have this little list in my notes here about the Bad Batch of like clones that I found in Clone Wars that were more interesting than the Bad Batch themselves. And it includes like the farmer guy on Salu Kamai
Yeah.
and the dude who, do you remember the arc on Ryloth where a guy befriends like a little Twilight girl and the imagery is like, it's very Iraq War. It's such a cool episode.
Yeah. I totally remember that one. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what's going to happen to this girl when we leave. I don't know, what impact the war is going to have.
Yeah.
Is she going to be okay?
I totally missed the socio-political subtext in that
It
episode.
was so Iraq War.
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
it was
like characters like that, and like I just like that they're digging. And like Fives is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
in the Clone
That
Wars,
five. Yeah,
so,
the five stuff is brutal. Yeah.
So I want them to meet all these clones again.
Yeah, I think that could be cool if it's almost like not clone of the week, but you know what? Each arc is like them meeting another clone and then seeing what their situation's like, and then either recruiting them or not recruiting them, and them wanting
Like
to live their own life.
Yeah.
Big
Because the great thing
reunion
about the
show.
Clone Wars was just that it made all these identical characters into fully realized, people with depth, with motivations, with heart. So
Yeah, which
revisiting that's cool.
got to give a shout out like D. Bradley Baker, incredible. Like,
Oh,
this
God,
is so much of the show seems like it's going to be like a one man show. D. Bradley Baker is the voice of all of the clones, including all of the Bad Batch. Also
Except
looked up
for
some other
Omega,
things,
I assume.
except for Omega. That's right. I
Hey,
would
you don't know that?
If he was the voice of Omega,
okay,
that would be-
IMDb. I'm gonna IMDb that
No,
because
he
now I
was-
need to know.
I did see Omega's voice was a girl. I did not know who it was. But,
Okay.
Oh, come on.
D. Bradley
Give him a
Baker also
shot.
voiced Omek from Legends of the Hidden Temple, which is incredible.
What?
Yeah, voice of Omek.
Oh my god.
And the voice of Appa and Momo on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Filoni. So.
Voice of Beautiful Joe. Not Filoni,
Oh.
but Beautiful Joe did a lot of slow motion karate, so good for him. Yeah, good stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, I thought that was really impressive.
Cool.
So, do you guys have any final thoughts? Any sort of predictions where you hope the show is going to go, where you think the show is going to go, where other observations from throughout the episode?
I have one that we've been talking about how it's possible Omega is going to be force sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit, I kind of hope that's not the case because it feels like, okay, we've got these surly, soldier, or combat hardened men protecting this young force sensitive child who turns out to, who might play a huge role in the galaxy because, force sensitives are now taboo. It's like that rings a little Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I don't want,
Yeah.
I don't need them to repeat the Mandalorian because they're not going to they can't replicate that. And
But
I
the
think trying
Mandalorian
to,
made so much money. You don't
It
need
did
to
make a
say-
lot of
aware
money.
That. I am aware of that, but I think if they try to replicate that, especially without the cuteness that is Grogu, I think it's going.
Yeah.
I just don't see that lightning striking twice. I think it's going to be a little bit samey if they try to do that same. I mean, if they can make it look different enough, or if they can make Omega, even interesting beyond just being force sensitive, then I'm sorry, I'm doing fingers a lot here, but if they can make her interesting without her, in spite of, because of, if they can make her interesting as a force sensitive in a way that Grogu isn't, for example, then I will be totally on board with it. I'm not saying it can't go anywhere. I'm just worried that they're going to be like, okay, what did the Mandalorian do? Let's just do that. Just sub in the Bad Batch for the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a genuine. I totally understand and agree with that concern. And yeah, my hope is that, again, they realize that this galaxy is so big and you could tell so many different stories and different types of stories. And yeah, still
Absolutely.
have the run-ins with people and the excited things, where you see Kanan and everything, but you could still have it be about something new and something different without having Luke Skywalker come to the rescue at the end, even though, the non-critic in me loved that. But then the critic in me was like, oh, why? So I don't know.
If he shows up to recruit Omega in this show, there's gonna be problems. I mean, he's a baby at this point, so he can't theoretically. But I'm not ruling it out.
Don't doubt him.
Point.
Don't doubt Luke.
I'm not doubting anybody in Disney or Lucasfilm at this point.
And then there's just like a little text epilogue that says, and then Grogu and Omega lived happily ever after until they were killed by Kylo Ren. The end.
No, don't say that. I refuse to believe that little pisser could kill Grogu. So I think Grogu.
Pisser.
I think give him enough time, and Grogu could flatten him because Kylo Ren is a laughingstock to me.
How many Oscar nominations does Grogu have? Because Adam Driver has one, I think.
This
Adam
isn't
Driver
about
might
Adam
actually
Driver.
not. This is totally about Adam Driver. He's like
Why?
7.5
would
feet
step
tall.
on Grogu.
Oh my
He
god!
would step on him.
Adam
Squish
Driver's
him like a bug.
Yeah, he's got huge pecs. He's great.
Okay, I feel like you guys are more interested in Adam Driver than I am at this
So
point.
I am all in on Adam
Have you
Driver.
seen the man?
I think it's just a case of, okay, he's not my type. This is nothing against Adam Driver, but since we're apparently we're going to talk about Adam Driver, let's talk about Adam Driver.
This is now the Adam Driver cast.
Instead of putting money in Bitcoin or Dogecoin, I put it all in Driver Coin.
How'd that work out for you?
I'm going all in on Driver Coin. Just it's a real strong upper half. It's great.
We need to bring it back to the Bad Batch so that we can end this episode on a good note.
Yes. Omar, any final thoughts on the episode or what you hope or expect going forward?
I mean, I guess we kind of touched on my predictions. I do predict that they are all gonna die. Every one of them, all of them, not a single one left standing. They're gonna go out like Rogue One because it makes no sense for them to still exist in this universe. So
yeah.
Sucks to suck. And also this is it's heavily based on like the idea of the Dirty Dozen. And if you've seen the Dirty Dozen, it does not end well.
No, it doesn't. For a vast majority of the dozen, it does not end well.
No, yeah.
I'd be fine with the show ending that way.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what ultimately because I think Rogue One works because their sacrifice is in the name of, like, we know exactly what their sacrifice is for, because the movie literally ends with the beginning of A New Hope. And so without their sacrifice, A New Hope couldn't have happened. And so none of Star Wars could have happened. So it would just have to be like, I don't know, they'll have to like sacrifice themselves to like, I don't know, save Ahsoka or something at the end, or something that'll actually matter to people, which I don't even know if I want. I don't want that either. I hope they just die like dogs. That would be, if Disney wants to really impress me, just have them die like dogs.
I want an ending like the end of Halo Reach.
Oh my god, yes!
That would be good. I would be on board with this.
Okay, I'm just thinking of this purely as Halo Reach now. I'm totally fine. This is just
might as well be.
Yeah,
same characters. They look the same.
D. Bradley Baker voiced the Gravemind in Halo, so there you go. Full circle.
Oh my god!
There's the connection.
Full circle. Incredible.
He is a prolific actor. So
he truly is.
We dedicate this episode to D. Bradley Baker.
Second best actor after Adam Driver.
Okay, and before we close out, I want to say I do have my closing thoughts on the episode. First off, like, it did impress me more than I thought it would. I was pretty down on the idea of a Bad Batch show, as obvious from last time. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go. However, I do think that the best piece of Star Wars media to come out from May the 4th was Maggie Simpson in The Force Awakens from its nap, which is a 3-minute Simpson short where Maggie Simpson fights baby Darth Maul in a Star Wars themed daycare. And actually, it's awful. Don't watch it. Yeah, it's not funny at all. But
we were going to do a full separate episode on that, and then it turned out it was 3 minutes long, and it was bad. So probably not going to do that. Awesome. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Rachel, where can people find you?
They can find me at Rachel Kaser, RachelKaser, all one handle. On Twitter, basically everything I ever post or talk about or am part of goes through my Twitter. So you can find everything there.
Okay.
Omar?
You can find my work here at The Escapist. I work on In the Frame, I work on The Escapist show, I work on the documentaries, I'm working on the upcoming Spiritfarer documentary, and you can follow me at Mr. Yomars. That's MRYOMARZ.
Cool. And I am at McBiggity 2Gs and 2Ts on Twitter. And by the time this goes up, I should have a piece on the Escapist all about my thoughts on Resident Evil Village, as well as a video that Nick and I did, about a 20-minute video. We both beat the game, and we both had a lot of thoughts. And so check those out on YouTube. And oh yeah, you did edit that. Look at that. Oh man.
I feel left out.
This is like a cinematic universe right here.
We have a deep connection.
Do you two need to be alone? I'm just saying.
We're going to talk about Adam Driver.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk.
I know.
This is gonna be.
I'm saying, would you like to be alone with Adam Driver
for our driver cast?
Yeah, we need to end this so we can talk about Adam Driver.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching us and listening to us and joining us for Escape the Galaxy Episode 2. We're going to be back in just a few days. So the next episode of The Bad Batch, Episode 2, airs on Friday, the 7th. And so we're going to be recording that night. And then hopefully the show will be up Saturday, the 8th. It should be a shorter episode because the actual episode of the show should go back to a normal 25-minute or so length. And then, we'll have an episode, every Friday, a new episode of The Bad Batch. And the next day, we should have an episode of Escape the Galaxy talking about it. So for Rachel and Omar, my name is Marty. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye. Go do something not Star Wars related. Bye. Bye.